Picture this. A grocery store that has been closed and abandoned in your community. Your reaction is along the lines of, "Now I have to go further for groceries," and, "Oh crap." But this closure and abandonment is not an uncommon occurrence, considering that there are hundreds upon hundreds of abandoned grocery stores in the U.S. alone. Fast forward a couple months. You and everyone around you have begun to smell a horrendous odor that has escalated due to the summer heat. One that's on par with decomposing body and rotten cheese festering in a hot car. You all quickly come to discover it's the former grocery store. This scenario has repeated itself in rare instances. Here are some of them. The most well-known case of this happened in Fort Worth, Texas. There was a Daniels location, which was a local grocery chain in the region, on 3900 Hemphill Street that had been open since 1988. It was, and currently is, most known for a tragic incident that happened. On May 29, 1994, 18-year-old Eduardo Lopez, who was the manager there, was confronted by a gunman, forced into the office to open up the safe, and was shot in the head despite complying. His body was later found in the storage freezer. To this day, the case remains unsolved. Two people had bought the building at some point in October of 1997, and as told by the Fort Worth Star-Telegram database in December 14, 1998 edition, it mentioned the tax date for a new store, Mejia Supermarket, that opened later that year. But the store, whose target demographic was low-income shoppers, failed to be profitable and became abandoned after the owners defaulted on their loans with $1.14 million in debt. The owners locked the doors and left. But through a series of miscommunications, food stayed inside, with the bankruptcy trustee even allowing the electric company to shut off the power on the inside on October 18th. Not long after, things began to spoil. Meat promptly started to rot due to no refrigeration. The produce began to over-ripen and rot. Milk cartons began to build up pressure inside them due to lactic acid, before eventually exploding. Some cheeses, butter, and ice cream became liquefied. Cheeses that didn't melt became caked in mold. This festival arrived affected many detrivores, which are things that eat decaying matter. Cockroaches, rats, flint blowflies took refuge in the building and multiplied greatly. Due to the rot, toxic gases such as hydrogen sulfide filled the building, completely eradicating any oxygen in there. 2 days later, people in the surrounding area began to complain about the foul odor, with someone saying that she couldn't operate her AC due to it bringing the smell in. After a week of complaints, Fort Worth opened an investigation into the situation and deemed the store a health hazard. The company A-Plus Budget Movers was consulted by Commercia, people who foreclosed on the building, cleaning up on the 2nd November. But they understandably noped out, saying that this wasn't in the realm of expertise, which makes sense since they're movers and not a biohazardous cleanup crew. So the Fort Worth Health Department and Environmental Management sent their officials a week later to assess the building and see how they could clean it up. He agreed with a pungent smell, dead rodents, and insects all across the former store. The flies were so voluminous, you couldn't see their hands in front of them. On the 5th of November, cops patrolling the area drove into the former parking lot and found a 55-year-old man carrying 3 plastic bags, their contents being a lot of cigarettes, pack of batteries, 12 pack of Coors Light beer. When they asked him where he got these things from, the guy said he found them in the dumpster on the south side of the building. He had been dumpster diving in other establishments as well before that. He was arrested because he had warrant out for 2 traffic violations. Follow-up reports said it was undetermined that he had broken the building, and he was released. Starting on the 13th of November, the building was fumigated for bugs and disease, and entrances blocked to prevent the rodents from escaping. Those entering the building had to wear full-on hazmat suits with air-filtering masks and oxygen tanks. Those who exited needed to be decontaminated to safely exit. Finally, the big day arrived. The day prior to fumigation, cops discovered on a potential burglary call that there was an unsecured fire door, due to crash bar door lock being broken, as well as a board torn from one of the store entrances, meaning people had possibly gone to the building to snag goods. On November 16, 1999, full-on cleanup begun. It would have been a day sooner, but they had to test the air inside due to the volume of pesticides used that weekend, and have safety for the workers. When they entered, they were greeted with a biohazardous nightmare. Rodent waste caked the floors, as well as hundreds of dead rodents as well. It was obvious that after rodents had devoured the rotten produce, they moved on to packaged goods. Packaged meat appeared as black goop, but perfectly fine, with everything festering in a thick layer of deadly bacteria, such as E. coli, including the exterior canned goods, resulting in them being pitched. Fortunately for the cleanup workers, the non-packaged beef from the freezers has already been eaten, so they didn't need to worry about that. They prioritized the meat first, then dairy, then everything else the next day. The cleanup overall cost $100,000. After the cleanup, footage of it became lost. The only clips resurfacing being from the show Life After People from the episode The Last Supper, along with an interview with Brian Boner, who is the Environmental Management Director for the city. I'm sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong. Currently, the footage has yet to be found in full. There's a Discord server dedicated to finding it that's currently linked in the comments of the Lost Media Wiki, and that I'll also link in this video's description. Recent developments include Biscuit Numbers and myself contacting UNT Special Archives to get a few more snippets, as well as using footage.net, as well as TikTok user Juice posting footage of his parents driving by near the end of the cleanup and posting the news footage of the Daniels murder. Currently, the building houses 2 Isle Park stores and a Dollar General, with several reviews, which the ones that aren't joking about it or referencing Mejia, mentioning a faint aroma along the lines of unrefrigerated milk or something dead. One even mentioning a roach they found behind the shelf, along with several people mentioning the possible presence of rodents, meaning the smell still hangs around, with a few vermin here and there too. The Dollar General has also closed. What the store will become is unknown. A member on the Search for Mejia Discord server, Julian, has a story pertaining to Mejia from his father, Tom, who actually helped on the site. I'm going to read you the thing he typed out. My name is Julian, born in 2005, Dallas, Texas. I'm the youngest from my 2 older sisters who lived in Texas before me. And since my birth in April, a month after we moved to Nevada, started a better life away from issues that are too much. But my dad, he was a contractor, and there were good jobs for him here, so it's another good reason now. Now, I've been invested to know about Mejia since June, and after learning from my mom about my dad's contracting business and being involved, I was more invested than I thought, and had to learn while doing the Mejia supermarket investigation. Let's start with my dad Tom and his story. My dad had a history of being a contractor from the 80s to the early 2000s, and he retired in 2006 here in Vegas. But what I didn't know until now, he actually had involvement with the 1999 Mejia supermarket incident. So to start, my dad had 10 or 20 employees, some of which were part-time, that came around from Dallas, Fort Worth. And Tom was a resident in Garland, his hometown outside Dallas. He gets calls here and there. So this is what happened. He was married, had a daughter, who was my sister, already born, stayed home with my mom and my half-sister, while he's out doing what he loves, gets the job done before he comes home. Now, then one day in November of 1999, my dad was probably working in Dallas, working at site from what he told me and his friends Mike and Joseph. They told him a supermarket closed in Fort Worth, and the owners left everything inside, leaving it to rot for 3 months, releasing a toxic smell. And my dad Tom, he didn't believe a word. He thought they just made it up, since he and everyone who works with him like to joke around on the job. So my dad said, I'll believe it when it's on the news. Well, a little note, they showed pictures when they told him, which are the Polaroids from November 3rd, so this conversation happened around the 10th. So when newspapers came in showing the front of the store before it was barricaded, telling the story of what went wrong, how it became abandoned, my dad kept his word and called Mike, and asked, do they need help from us? Mike told him on the phone, Garner is having a cleanup crew to go inside, but we need a barricade done before it's possible. So my dad said, what's the plan? What do you need? Mike explained they need him and some of his workers to meet up in a lot where the smell isn't reachable, have some wood cut up in sections while the frame is built on the store entrance, what you see in the news footage. So the next day, The next day, and after my dad went to Fort Worth and brought some of his workers, they met with Garner and city officials, and they gave him and the others measurements, some reference photos to make panels, so in a matter of time, they got to work measuring wood panels, and cutting pieces and having frames ready, as well as once they finished the wood panels and frames, they were loaded on a Garner trailer and headed off to the Mexia supermarket the next day, which I believe the date on the news footage, 14th of November. But my thoughts are probably the 12th and 13th, the amount of panels were made. The aftermath, Mike told him on the phone that the barricade is being built and we'd make sure it stays strong, so no chances of the smell of vermin to escape or enter. He was grateful my dad and others came to help in time. My dad, being a caring man to his friends and family, tells Mike, "Gotta get the job done with the right people in good conditions." It surprised me that I would learn about this after seeing videos of Mexia. I told my mom about it, and if she remembered, and she told me that she saw it on television KXAS NBC5, which is a station in Dallas, Fort Worth, and mentioned my dad went near the area to help, and that's when I knew I gotta know the story. So I joined the server after watching another video that included the link, and after joining, I introduced myself. Told someone who was investigating the story, and they helped me out, and a lot of discovery happened during the search. Just like my dad said, gotta get the job done with the right people and good connections. I mean, if I didn't ask my dad the story about hearing about Mexia and his involvement, I wouldn't be here telling the story. And I will admit, more than when my dad was seeing pictures and videos, he did remember going inside when it was Daniels, thinking probably around 1994, 1997, because he gets some jobs around Fort Worth to his contracting business at some residential houses. Just lunch for his employees, since again, he was a nice and caring guy. Now, what is he up to nowadays? He's retired. No, he's been since 2006. After 2005, when I was born in Dallas, and all of us, the family moved here in Nevada a month after April. My dad may be in his 60s, but he still does work to help the neighbors or family members that don't understand instruction or need something built. He comes in and helps, because that's what people do. They help. Thanks, Dad. Now we move on to the Midwest, specifically the St. Louis metro area and their Mexia-esque incidents. The first one was in University City, Missouri, which is right outside St. Louis. There was a Filipino grocery store called Seafood City on 8020 Olive Boulevard, which is right along the line between University City and St. Louis. It moved there around 2010 from its prior location on 7733 Olive, which is currently a beauty supply store. The plaza on Olive has held various businesses in it. One that pops up is a $1.99 World Superstore, which I can't really find anything about online, which was next to the Seafood City, and the beloved Chinese restaurant called Mandarin House, which had been there since 1979. But it and the $1.99 store closed up in 2022. The only complaints I've seen from Seafood City was one Yelp user mentioning moldy noodles that were just sitting in a cooler, and two more saying that they bought food that was past its expiration date when they purchased it. In 2022, it was discovered that Seafood City wasn't operating with a health permit, which started an investigation from the St. Louis County Health Department. During said investigation, refrigerators were found to be operating above temperature that considered safe for food, as well as them not holding a consistent temperature, resulting in bacteria and heat-resistant toxins multiplying on the food. Other parts of the report mention the roof leaking and looking like it would have a high likelihood of collapsing, a dead mouse under a display table, a significant amount of rodent droppings near food storage, and equipment not being sanitized, with the report also highlighting that there was no sink for hand washing. The county health department shut it down, sent out an alert to prompt people to toss anything they bought there out. The owner helped out, leaving everything inside, just like Mexia. For over 6 months, food right inside. and the live fish and turtles in the tanks shown in these pictures most definitely suffocated in there due to no power through the filtration air systems for the tanks. Noxious odors emitted from the building. Residents complained about the odor as well as the major influx of flies and gnats, which was prevalent when it was hot. About 6 to 7 months later, Bio 1, a crew that specializes in cleaning up crime scenes, cleaned up over 7,000 pounds of rotten seafood and produce. Like Mejia, there were people even trying to dig through the dumpster for things such as canned goods that were most definitely caked in deadly bacteria. With one man, Rataka Lamonze Marshall, being arrested for theft and breaking and entering after stealing $1,200 worth of Airwick air fresheners and a box of tea from a storage area connected to the farm store, which is rather confusing in my opinion. He was put on a $2,500 bail and was ordered to stay 500 feet away from the building. Originally, the owner of the store was made to pay for cleanup, but in the end, taxpayers had to pay the bill. Cleanup cost $7,000 per day and lasts from late September to mid-October, costing overall $160,000. University City ended up paying $127,000 of it. The company that owned the overall building, Six Fortune LLC, also sued Seafood City for over $300,000 in rent. The lawsuit is still ongoing, to my knowledge. Currently, the building on the plaza it was in is currently abandoned and condemned. The fence around the portion of the old parking lot. Urbexers on YouTube, such as GRM Adventures, whose footage you can see here, that venture out to the place, still say they smell something foul along with their usual mold smell. The second incident occurred in the Metro East community of Breeze, Illinois. A beloved regional grocery chain, Shude SuperValue, commonly known as Shude Market, went bankrupt and closed in September of 2018, which was slightly sad, in my opinion, considering that they'd been in business for over 150 years. But they didn't clear out the stock, just like Seafood City would later end up doing. The only thing that remained open in the building was the Independent Family Care Pharmacy, which gated off their interior entrance. For 11 days, fresh meat sat there, began to rot, as well as produce. The pharmacy tried to combat it by putting up air fresheners around the area to deter the smell. Shude Store Inc. claimed nothing could be done due to in-progress bankruptcy proceedings. The bankruptcy trustee basically responded with, "You people should have removed or at least secured the perishables before closing down." The rotten food finally got removed after a Clinton County health inspector visited the building after hearing about the foul smell. Bankruptcy trustee hired people to remove the spoiled meat and produce. Nowadays, there's a grocery store chain called Farm Fresh Market that currently resides in the building alongside that still operating pharmacy. I assume they opened up at some point in 2021, 2022, since I can't really find anything about it without subscribing to something. As well as the other current occupants being a Chinese buffet called China Pearl, a hardware store called St. Peter's True Value Farm Ranch and Rental, which is inside a former Fred's Super Dollar, small church, and a Hardee's. Even our northern neighbors had a similar incident. The small Canadian city of North Bay, Ontario, Bavarian Meats, a butcher shop, closed without notice, akin to Mejia, in 2021. The property was sold to new owners, but they left everything inside. After it sat through the winter, with 8 tons of meat rotting in there, and rancid odors permeating the nearby vicinity, along with vermin taking refuge in the building, it finally got cleaned out in June of 2022. After the cleanup, Bavarian Link Meat Products President William James Heaton was ordered to pay back the $250,000 loan from NECO Community Futures Development Corporation in full. Throughout the loan's duration, starting in 2018, it was never paid once, nor did the butcher shop provide proper financial information or proof of insurance. It was also revealed that the shop was abandoned because the shop defaulted after 3 interest-free payment deferrals during the pandemic. Interestingly enough, Mejia-esque incidents have happened long before Mejia proper occurred. In March of 1940, A grocer in North Platte, Nebraska posted an ad in their paper about their grand opening. Its name? Graceland Market. This was the first recorded mention of them. Not long after, in 1942, North Platte was flooded, with Graceland Market and the surrounding community submerged under 2 feet of water. Thankfully, the community, along with Graceland Market, were able to recover. In January of 1946, they posted about coming under new ownership. For a while, it did its thing. Ownership changed again in March of 1948 and May of 1955. They even celebrated their anniversary in 1962, which honestly sounded like it was a lot of fun. All the prizes, coffee, and cookies. Minus the siren going off for free groceries. I'm not good with loud noises. The only issues during that time period was a Florida man getting arrested for cashing a no-account check worth $10 in 1958, and a break-in in 1967 due to someone leaving the door unlocked. Thankfully for the owners, nothing was stolen, at least nothing they were aware of. When in October of 1967, they got in trouble with the health department and were fined $200, which is over $1,900 today. The main complaints? Dusty shelves, rodent droppings, and rotting fruit, all found in the back storage room. When the owner was taken to court, he claimed there was no customer complaints about the issues mentioned in the report. The following year, state ordered them to stop selling food, but allowed them to remain open to sell non-food products like tobacco until they cleaned up. 3 years later, the store was charged again, this time for selling lewd magazines. Year after that, they were mentioned in an article discussing how, on average, food establishments only scored as acceptable in the town. Graceland Market, in particular, was noted for storing fruit outside and having rats frequenting the area. It was mentioned that the owner was taken to court again, and if they proved him to be a repeat offender, the store could be permanently closed. It was, in 1974. Fast forward 2 years. The building was now abandoned, with rotting food and over-the-counter meds still inside. The store owner had apparently taken refuge in the building, using the storage room as his bedroom and consuming some of the leftover food. He denied it, but it was pretty evident. After the store was cleaned out, the building was put up for auction and bought by Dale Gleason, who had 10 days to tear it down. He said he wanted to turn it into a barn or storage shed by removing the building intact. In the end, the whole thing was torn down and the rubble cleared. Today, a Mexican restaurant called San Pedro Mexican Restaurant sits on where Graceland Market once stood. Another case that's well known is the story of the Price Kings of New York City. From what I could gather with assistance from my acquaintance Benjamin, Price King was a chain of grocery stores in the region run by a company now known as Key Food Stores Co-op Inc. Back then, it was called D'Urso Supermarket Inc. D'Urso Supermarket Inc. had a series of bad PR incidents prior to this incident. The largest one being that one of their franchisee guys, Pasquale Conte, who also owned Tap Supermarkets, had ties to the Sicilian Mafia and was involved in a heroin smuggling operation with them that was revealed in what came to be known as the Pizza Connection trial. Around that time, when this was revealed, then company president Camillo D'Urso was revealed to have been missing for 3 years when he went on a fishing trip in the Keys. People quickly looked at Conte, believing he was the one that killed D'Urso. Feds investigated that route, leading to be linked to the Mafia, but found nothing. He did eventually plead guilty to a mob-related murder in 1994 for an unrelated case. Another incident was that the company had connections with a trucker firm that had done $10 million worth of tax fraud in the 70s and 80s. In 1992, 2 Price King stores closed without notice, one in the Bronx and one in Richmond Hill, too. Soon, the food began to spoil. It was obvious that the owner, his grandchild of one of the founders, D'Urso, I couldn't find that person's first name, was trying to clean things up. That was likely because he told them to clean up what mess they made. Currently, here's what the sites the former Price Kings based on a coupon ad given to me that Benjamin found. Now for the one that has more recently come to light. In 2019, a Mexican grocery store chain based in Columbus, Ohio, came under fire for a viral video. In it, one of their own employees filmed themselves licking a raw slab of meat and posted it to Snapchat. After understandable outrage, the employee was promptly fired and the entire staff retrained. On the store's official Facebook page, the former employee apologized and claimed the meat had been dropped on the floor before the video was filmed and was thrown out afterwards. Still, this added another layer to an already growing PR disaster. Before this, their West Columbus flagship location had racked up 61 health code violations in its restaurant section, 18 of them critical. This included things like mouse droppings, a large amount of uncovered food, a cooler that couldn't hold steady temperature, and filthy kitchen equipment and ice machines. That bad reputation stuck with them when they opened a new location in a Dayton suburb in 2020. It ran for 2 years, then shut down. Probably due to all the bad press. It's still there. Food inside rotting. Thankfully, they removed perishables, but not before a brown, smelly goop dripped to the bottom of the freezers they were in. Packaged goods remain, including pickled eggs, turkey gizzards, regular pickles, and pickled bologna in what used to be the meat department, alongside expired jars of herring and sauce that have probably exploded by now. All of it. Expired. The town is trying to revitalize the plaza it's in, but there's no word yet on what they're going to do about the former grocery store. Before I sign off, a few things. First, about the former Mexican grocery store, before someone inevitably brings up the location in the comments, let me say this. Do not go into the former store. I know it's tempting, considering the sheer amount of canned goods and content material, but don't. You'll either get arrested for trespassing and or breaking and entering, get sick from all the bacteria and mold, or both. Just don't, okay? Second, incidents like the ones in this video are rare, so don't panic about something like Mejia, Price King, or Seafood City happening in your area. But if it does, report it to your local health department. Thanks to the University of North Texas Special Collections and Miss Gabrielle for allowing me to use the news footage and for helping digitize it as well. Thanks to Swift, Pewee, and everyone on the Search for Mejia footage Discord for making the footage public. Thanks to Benjamin McHale and his associates on the same server for helping me throughout this project. Thanks to GRM Adventures and Ranger Rick TV for allowing me to use their cleanup footage in this. And thanks to the Bio 1 worker for sharing those 2 images from the cleanup in the comment section of the TikTok about Seafood City that eventually got shared on the Discord. I hope y'all's future endeavors go well, and thanks to my family and friends for supporting me throughout this project.